Hey everybody, this is Herschel Froome from High School Top 200. This De La Salle College Review 2016 is brought to you by Fineline Barbers. Fineline Barbers has connected up and hooked up with major barbering suppliers, and they are starting up an Aotearoa barber competition that's going to happen in September 2017. What they want to do is that they want to bring attention to the talent that we have here in New Zealand in the barbering industry, and bring all the barbers together and sort of the suppliers and the vendors together, and bring them all together on one day, and then to compete and find out who the best barbers are in the country. The best thing about it is that you don't have to have a certificate or anything like that to qualify. You can just go and enter in. Also, there's going to be a Facebook page and also an Instagram page that Fineline Barbers is going to set up for this competition, so that barbers can upload their work onto these networking pages, these social networking pages, and then we as a public can see the work that our barbers around the country have, and then we can follow them, and then even on the day of the competition in September next year, you can get a haircut from the barber that you like that doesn't actually live in your area. So have a look out for the Aotearoa Barber Competition, September 2017, and Fineline Barbers, my boy Vinnie, is bringing that to you guys. De La Salle College is an interesting team, and I always said it, and I've said it before too, and I stand by it as well, is that if recruiting never happens, and if it had to stop and there was no kind of recruiting at all, De La Salle, hands down, will be the best team in the country. They have the best talent year in and year out, and just through their grades, they just always have the best talent, and then they don't even recruit. Like De La Salle, you can't recruit. They're not like I know that they have a massive reputation for their rugby program and the guys that come out of there. But if you go to De La Salle College, it's not a flash school. They're not a rich school. But their riches come in terms of the talent that they have, and the boys that just live within that area. I don't know how it is or what it is about it, but there's just something about that area that De La Salle just has talent on talent on talent. That's kind of how it is. And for some reason, just every single year they just have boys that turn up, and they just become like stars for some reason, and they just become at a high level, and it's just the school itself. And like a lot of you guys that probably have never been to South Auckland, to like the area, it literally is De La Salle, King's College, and Otahu, all just those three basically in a row in a space of like 2Ks, 3Ks or something. So like, if you take just those three schools in just that one area, and obviously King's is a private school, but just in that one area, there's so much talent there just in that one area. And De La Salle is at the top of the list of the most talented players that ever come out of that school. And there's a lot of guys who have been recruited to the other schools from that area that should have went to De La Salle. And trust me, that De La Salle has something about that school. And it was the same as this year. Like they had so many good players in that school this year, and they had so many good guys that were kind of just under, like they were just under some of them superstars that are around the country. They had players that were just under that were just just not quite at that level. But when they came together as a team, they battled all the time. Like you think about it, their first game was against Mags, and they only lost by 2 points. And that's something that people don't actually understand, is that they only lost to Mags 14-12 in the first game. That's huge. Like no one was paying attention to that, because no one was actually really paying attention to Mags. And so every year they come out, and then they have these massive teams, and then it's just about putting it together. To me, and actually they've started this year, and how good they're going to be, and how good they're going to be going into the next few years, of depending on how long this coaching staff stays together. But as long as this school has a good coaching staff, these boys would go in a better direction, because that's all it is. You don't have to look for talent; it's already there. You just have to have a good coaching staff that can utilize the boys. I mean, look at it. They had Kafu, Joseph, Rafaele in the front row. 3 massive boys, 3 guys that can actually just go around, bash up bodies, clean out rucks, carry the ball as well. And then you got George Hutch, who's coming back next year, which is going to be massive, because I think he's going to be a big time number 8 next year. Hopefully, if they use him at number 8. They had Caleb, and then PJ Hutch as well, who was like he was at number 8 that didn't get his props. Like, they didn't give him enough, I guess, the right attention. I think that he should have had more attention. Jesse Pascoe, who I thought was really good at halfback, and he's coming back next year. They had Obe, Simon Peter, Lalo Milo, Brian TJ, and Eric Aheng, who's coming back, who's only a year 11. This guy that, all these guys who are just in this one team can basically all go to another school and start straight away. That's how good these guys are. So, like, if this coaching staff stays, and I think this coaching staff is doing really good right now, and finding out what their players are like and what their players are good at and what they're not good at and what they need to do to be better, this De La Salle is going to scare some teams. Obviously, recruiting is going to go along with this, because they do get boys recruited out of the school. But it's like they have... It's sort of like they have too much talent. Because even when boys get recruited out, for some reason in the first 15 they're always still strong. So I don't know how they do it. But it's just like they have too much talent. But some of these boys coming back, like Simon Peter Tuleafua, who I think was one of the guys that was pretty underrated. He was one of the best wingers that was up at this Blues and Chiefs. He was just so good. Even Obe Samatu, who was another kid that I thought was... he can also come back next year. I mean, I hope Obe comes back. I'm not too sure if he will, because if Jesse and Obe stay together, that's going to be one of the best halfback first 5 combinations in the country. Easy. These 2 boys, for some reason, they can work it out, and they work fast. They organize pretty well. The kicking between both of them is really good too. And then if you have a guy like George Hutch, who I think should be within that either number 8 or blind side, depending on how he develops in the summer. Those 3 together, just within that little block of guys, they're going to be such a good unit going around. Then you got Eric at the back. Lalo Milo is obviously going to be a New Zealand secondary school player, Barbarian next year. I mean, he just missed out on Barbarians this year. That's how good Lalo Milo is. Like, this kid is a beast, and he's hard to tackle, and he is so physically strong, and he like uses his defense to actually get his offense going. So if you're going to play that weak defense and you're just going to give it to him every single time, where he's just running through you and using you as like a prop in his like sort of a running assault, then you're going to have to think up of another scheme to come defensive-wise against Lalo Milo. And then Eric can then play off so well. I think Kurt is another guy who's coming back as well, who will probably end up on the other wing, I think. But De La Salle is going to be that team. They lost some games this year that I think that they maybe should have won. I mean, they came really close against St. Peter's, which I think they should have won. The game against St. Kennigan's, which was a hugely important game against St. Kennigan's, where they lost 12-5, I think was a game that if they had won, their season would have turned around a lot more, even though it was towards the end, because at the end of the season they beat King's College, so that would have actually, boosted them up, and maybe they could have got into that top 4. the game against Sacred Heart was one that I felt where they didn't actually perform their best where they really should have. They lost 38-7. But still, I think that was a good season, and next year's going to be massive for these guys. It's going to be mean to see these guys come back. That's my review of De La Salle College. Peace.